Today, I wanted to ride this very special bike right here. A lot of you guys might recognize this bike. This is a Honda CB1100. All right, let's get this thing started. Wow, super smooth. Ignore the plane overhead. I think it says Navy on it. It's an old one, pretty cool. All right, now I can focus here for a second without the super loud jet over my head. This thing is very smooth. That start, woo, very nice, very nice. I rode the Trident 660 on the way to pick up this bike, so that's what you're going to hear me comparing it to a lot. And the Triumph Trident 660, it's not as smooth as that when you start it. A little more vibraty. That probably has to do with the smaller size, because this bike is honestly pretty good size. Bike's warmed up already, so I can do this. Wow, it'll go. It'll get up and go. It definitely puts the 1100 in CB1100. I am very fond of this bike. I really like this bike. This specific one has a lot of aftermarket things done to it. A lot of aesthetic stuff, a lot of modifications. Nothing really done to the engine that I know of, like bolt-ons or anything crazy like that. This bike's really accustomed to the owner. This is a 2014. It looks like it's got 10,000 miles on it. But the mirrors are way down there. I usually use my mirrors to check my camera, but wow, okay, this bike, I gotta tell you something about this bike. You're gonna hear the word smooth a lot in this video. A big part of that is because this bike is just that. It is stupid smooth. I mean, oh, I am so comfortable on this bike, and it's just got that smooth power behind it. You really feel the CC of the 1100 when you give it the throttle, but it's not one of those things you twist the throttle and all of a sudden your neck whips like a lot of sport bikes in that 1000cc range we feel so often. Especially a lot of these newer bikes, you just have so much power on tap and it's just ready to go 24/7. But this bike, I mean, you have that power, but it doesn't feel like it. I mean, I could easily break the speed limit on this bike and not even realize it. Kind of similar to the Goldwing in a way, but not quite the same, because the Goldwing was more like a touring, give it nice smooth, get you on the highway, get you on your way kind of power. This bike is just smooth. It's just a smooth bike. Oh, an SRT Magnum. That's something you don't see every day. I wonder what engine's in that. I don't know anything about that, so I'm curious about that. Back to the CB. And here's the statement I'm going to make. If you want to feel a motorcycle built correctly, built to be smooth, built to just be a pure fun riding experience without a ton of technology, you need to ride one of these. This bike is perfect. Everything on this bike was done so dang good. Just the way it delivers power to the way it shifts. I never had a Honda motorcycle besides a Grom in my past, and I never really thought much of getting one, but I've ridden a few Hondas in my videos, from the Goldwing to the little XR, and now this. Oh man, do I want one? I don't know what I'm doing on this course here. I am starting to think Honda might be my favorite brand. And I say that as a guy who has a Kawasaki and a Triumph in his garage. So there's no really fanboy here saying that. I have been very impressed with every Honda I've ridden, besides maybe the Grom that I had for a little bit, just because none of my friends had Groms. And I feel like the only way to enjoy a Grom is if a bunch of friends have them and you guys get out and ride together, at least for a guy my size. Now if you're a smaller person like my wife who had a Grom, I loved it, you know, that's a different story. But this video is not about the Grom, man. I'm getting off topic here. I'm in pure bliss riding this bike, the CB1100. get out of here. Now, every time I get on this bike, I just think it's slower than the Trident. Every single time I hop on this bike, I think that. A lot of that has to do with the way it delivers the power. Oh, dude! Now, speed-wise, I mean, they're pretty even. I'm not gonna lie, it's always a close race. Because the Trident kind of has a violent acceleration, I feel like. And same with a lot of newer bikes, like I was saying. You know, a lot of these newer bikes, you give it some throttle and oh my gosh, your head gets thrown back and the bike feels like it's gonna be up in a wheelie any minute. There's something about the CB that when you give it some gas, it feels fast, but it doesn't feel like it's anywhere near as violent as a power delivery as those other bikes. Now, I feel like this is one of those bikes that definitely sells to a certain audience, okay? This bike does not look new. It doesn't look like a modern bike whatsoever, especially from the factory. I mean, it looks like it could pass for a bike made in the 90s and 80s. And I don't think it looks that bad at all. I think it's a fantastic looking motorcycle. A lot of these younger bucks and these newer guys, they're probably going to disagree with me on that. They're going to want these new sporty looking bikes and whatnot. But really, I mean, I think they just kind of thought, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I really like the display a lot. I like that they stuck with the classic speedometer and they kind of did this little digital display right here that tells you what gear you're in and the mileage of the bike and how much fuel you have, of course. Oh, that is smooth like butter. Now this bike does feel a little bit on the heavy side. It's not terrible at all, but it's definitely heavier than I've always expecting it to be every time I put my legs over it. But I mean, really, just like any other motorcycle, it's going to be nimble and it handles pretty good. I really enjoy the way it handles. I think maybe if Honda, you know, made this bike a little bit lighter or something like that, I think this thing would handle just so stupid good. And I mean, it already does, but I'm thinking if you could just cut the weight a little bit on this bike, think about how amazing it would be in the twisties. Now, would I take this thing to the twisties? Yes, 1000%. This bike is not anywhere near as heavy as the past couple bikes I've ridden for these reviews, a Goldwing and a Street Glide. It's nowhere near that weight. Maybe this bike being lighter is not what it needs. Maybe this bike is perfect the way it is. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, this bike feels pretty dang good for what it is. Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. That doesn't lack power. There's no lack of power on this bike. That felt good. That felt really good. You know what? I really think this bike is perfect the way it is. I think I'm just looking too hard at the cons because, I'm just having too much fun on this bike. And it's difficult for me to just repeatedly say how fun this bike is and, you know, obviously make a good video. Honda's been making some bangers, dude. Honda's been making some good bikes. I can't lie. It's my next review right there. The Honda Navi.